Life is an ocean of sorrows, and on that ocean, we want to anchor our boat to the shore. Time and again, we try to move our boat forward, but the waves of the ocean don't always allow us to make progress. We use our intellect and our thoughts to overcome the sorrows of life, but each time, a new sorrow arises. In such moments, the question arises, is there a formula that can help us transcend these sorrows? And if we can cross the ocean of sorrows and reach the other shore, the answer to this question lies in the story you're about to hear. But before you dive into this story, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Once Gautam Buddha entered a kingdom with his disciples. As soon as news of their arrival spreads like wildfire throughout the kingdom that Buddha has entered the land. Arrangements are made for Buddha and his monks to stay in a forest of the kingdom. The forest is incredibly beautiful. All the monks decide to stay in the forest for a few days. The reason Buddha stayed in that forest was that Buddha wanted to spread his teachings to all people. There were many people in that kingdom. Almost all of them had a desire to listen to Buddha's teachings. Except for one man from that village, who happened to be the poorest in the village. He lived in a small village in that kingdom. He had no family. Buddha was staying in that forest. The distance of that forest from the village was very short, yet that man was completely unaffected by Buddha's presence. He was unknown, he used to beg for his food and live happily in his small hut. The day Buddha entered the kingdom, that man, in the morning, goes behind his hut and is surprised to see a beautiful lotus flower blooming. He couldn't understand how this lotus flower suddenly bloomed here today, as it never grew before, nor was there any season for lotus flowers to bloom. He starts wondering how this could happen. He couldn't comprehend it. Then he thinks, why not take advantage of this flower? He decides to pluck the flower and sell it. He contemplates selling the flower after plucking it. He thinks about how much money he could earn by selling this unseasonal flower. Hardly anyone would provide him a meal for a day. If someone can offer the right price for it, then that person must be a king, and he takes the flower to sell it. On the way, he meets the king's minister. His attention falls on that flower. He is greatly attracted. The minister stops his chariot and asks the man, "Tell me, what price would you ask for this flower?" The man, trembling, says, "Sir, if I were to get 10 coins for it, it would be great." The minister says, "I will give you 100 gold coins in exchange for it. Give me this flower." Hearing this, the man is torn between doubt and confusion about what to do next. He thinks, I asked for 10 coins, but I'm being offered 100 coins. This must mean that there's something special about this unseasonal flower. Only the king can give a better value. He refuses to give the flower to the minister. The minister is heading to see Buddha. Therefore, he thinks that he should take the unseasonal flower as a gift to Buddha's feet. In the end, the minister sits in his chariot and departs. After a while, the king's chariot arrives there. Seeing this, the man becomes very happy and wonders why everyone is going in the same direction. Just then, the king's attention falls on the beggar's flower. The king stops his chariot near the beggar and asks, "Tell me, what will you take in exchange for this flower?" "Whatever you ask, I will give you 10 times more." The beggar once again finds himself in a dilemma. He thinks, if I ask for 1 lakh coins, I'll get 10 lakh, and if I ask for 10 lakh, I'll get 1 crore gold coins. After pondering for a while, the beggar says, "Your Majesty, I am a poor man, and I am stuck in a dilemma. Will you answer my question?" The king replies, "Ask what you want to ask." The beggar asks, "What will you do with this flower? Why do you value it so much? Just a while ago, your minister also offered a high price for it, but hearing the value you're placing on it, I was left astounded. I left home thinking that even if someone gives me 10 coins in exchange for it, it would be great. However, your minister valued this flower at 100 coins, and you have further entangled me by assigning it even more value. Your Majesty, I want to know what you will ultimately do with this flower." Hearing this, the king says, "Don't you know that Buddha has arrived in our kingdom? And perhaps it's due to his presence that this extraordinary flower has bloomed. And I want this lotus flower at any cost. Although lotus flowers are often found at the feet of Buddha, this particular one bloomed unseasonal. It's after an unusual flower. Someone will do this for the first time, and this opportunity has come to me. Upon hearing this, the beggar says, "If that's the case, then forgive me, Your Majesty. I cannot give you this flower. I'll rather give it to Buddha." Until now, the beggar was troubled, but now the king is troubled. The king thinks that he's willing to pay 10 times the value of this flower to the beggar in exchange, but the beggar doesn't want to accept it. The beggar says, "Pardon me, Your Highness. I didn't know earlier that Mahatma Buddha is present here, but now that I know, I want you to take advantage of this opportunity. I will offer this flower to his feet myself." If you are willing to pay such a high price for this flower to place it at his feet, then surely there must be a different essence in doing so, a unique joy in placing it at Buddha's feet. Therefore, I will now dedicate this flower to him. I have been poor all my life, and I will remain so in the future as well, but I will be the one to offer him this flower. Afterward, the beggar approaches Buddha and presents him with the flower. Buddha receives it with great love and takes it in his hand, as he enters the assembly for his teachings. Seeing the flower, everyone becomes amazed because never before had Buddha brought a flower to the teaching assembly. After that, he observes all his disciples and topics, but no one asks any questions. For a while, they watch him, and then he begins to demonstrate all his perspectives. Even they pay close attention to him. Among all those disciples, one person starts crying upon seeing that flower. After this, Buddha rises from his seat and hands over the flower to that disciple. After the event, Buddha is questioned about what the disciple saw in the flower that made him cry. That disciple's name was Mahajit. Buddha replies that Mahajit saw the flower. Upon hearing the response, the other monks say that they all also saw the flower. Buddha explains that when you saw the flower, you didn't just see the flower, you also saw the connected thoughts. But when Mahajit saw that flower, he saw it with a complete witness's gaze. There was no notion of beauty or ugliness there, no thoughts, only the flower and Mahajit were present. If you can see with emotion, life transforms. Just by your sight, life can change. In this story, Buddha is giving a teaching to Mahajit, attempting to convey that one can only be liberated from all bonds by witnessing emotions. Mahajit captured the moment in a similar way. That is the reason tears came into his eyes. Dear friends, witnessing emotion is a state that provides you with a way to observe something without being tied to the object. When you observe something with a witnessing emotion, you rise above your thoughts. Rather than associating that thing as good or bad through your thoughts, you rise above and view that thing, showing its true essence. If we can calm our thoughts through meditation, we can even separate ourselves from our sorrows. And when we can separate ourselves from our sorrows, we realize that we have transcended them. Therefore, try to attain the state of witnessing emotion through meditation. Valued listeners, how did you find this story? Please share in the comments section. Stay joyful and stay blissful until the next story.